For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy, to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard, we will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Yeah!
Yeah! Thank you very much. Welcome back to 30 Odd Minutes. It's great to have you here because quite frankly, it would be lonely without you. So thank you so much for coming. This is a very special show tonight, something different, a little bit of a break, but something I'm excited about. You can kind of think of us tonight as kind of like the McLaughlin Group of the paranormal.
Hey, you got it.
Next issue. I did get it. Thank you very much. It's going to be a roundtable discussion and debate with your favorite oddballs.
Me?
Son of a gun, it's going to be that kind of night. Should we just start over?
We're live, man.
Oh, that's great. And there was no mic on. Well, anyway, welcome back to 30 Odd Minutes. We're going to just try it again. Think of this as the McLaughlin Group of the Paranormal with the microphones on this time. This is going to be, it's been that kind of day, really, all around. I think this is just kind of par for the course. So, good. That was my fault. I take all the blame.
Monday, part 2.
Right. We're trying. Tonight it's going to be a roundtable discussion, a paranormal debate, if you will, with the Oddballs. You're going to get to meet us all and get to know us a little bit better. Want to thank you folks for your emails. We've been getting a lot of great ones. You can email us anytime at info@30oddminutes.com. And if you're watching the show live online, you can always jump in our chat room at 30oddminutes.com and you can ask questions and pass them up to us, and it'll be a lot of fun. So last week we asked you, we said, hey, send us your field reports. Go out there with your video cameras and capture something odd. And some of you listened. Thank you so much. Check this out. This came in.
Hello, 30 Odd Crew. This is Tom, coming to you from Plymouth, Massachusetts, at Burial Hill, which is one of the oldest graveyards in the entire United States. And as you can see, something very odd here has happened. It looks like this is the footstone right here to this grave marker, and right in the middle of it is this huge tree that somehow made its way right in the middle of it. So how do you think that happened? You think the tree grew in under and through the casket? You think they buried him under the tree, or do you think the tree somehow grew on top of him? I don't know. It looks very odd. Back to you guys.
Hey, thank you, Tom Marcella. That was awesome. If you've got a field report, check it out. Send it to us, info@30oddminutes.com. Tom, to answer your question, I'm fairly certain that casket just was kind of green and just started growing. What do you think?
I think his head's actually facing the other direction.
I think the tree grew on top of him and enjoyed his yummy nutrients.
You know, actually, there's another famous case. We were talking about this earlier today. Roger Williams, the founder of Rhode Island. We've actually have a graphic of this. Apple tree grew not only on top of and into his grave, but through his body. There it is. There's one of the roots that was extracted from his body. How cool is that? Rhode Island history. Apple tree, too. And I bet they were delicious. All right, welcome to our paranormal... Yeah, right. Welcome to our Paranormal Roundtable. To my left, we've got Andrew Lake, Matt Moniz. To my right, Sarah Samways and Rob Bailey. These are the Oddballs. We're the folks that work on this show week after week. And what I thought we'd do tonight is let us be the guest. We want to have a debate, a riveting discussion about the paranormal, because what happens is after every show, we actually head out to the bar, and we often continue the discussions that started during the episode. So why not, you know, they wouldn't let us film in the bar for legal reasons, and I don't blame them. So we thought we could do it this way, and most of us are sober. Well, most of us. All right, so we've got a few topics for discussion. We want to start with paranormal in the media, good or bad thing. Matt Moniz, what say you?
I say good thing.
All right.
I say so.
Good. Next question. No, wait a minute. No, you should go on.
I believe that lately some good publicity has come from some of the shows.
Okay. Like what?
I think it's definitely gotten a lot of information out into the public, quality information, not some of the sneer and jeer type of stuff that used to be what the paranormal was shown at through the media.
Right, and the other thing too is that of course it just the mere discussion of the topic in any facet,
right,
promotes people talking about it. But it could be a bad thing, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm afraid I see too much bad in it, especially with the news. I'm getting tired of something coming up, whether it be a UFO sighting, a cryptid sighting, and they tease you with it, and then when they come back to the story, they just laugh at the person who brought the story up. They snicker at it and leave it at that. I also feel some of the paranormal shows that are trying to jump on the bandwagon are really bringing the intelligence level down in the field. Personally.
Yeah, there's that. And one of the things too, and we've all been there, all of us who are out there in the paranormal, around October, your phone rings. And it's the newspapers, the radios, the TV, and they'll ask you to do anything. I mean, I've been with like network news, and they'll say, would you put on a white sheet and run toward the camera screaming, And I think some people look at them and say, oh, okay, I'll do it, It's okay to say, no, absolutely not. We're out here and I'm not going to do that, you know? And it's okay to say no. But how did you even get into the paranormal to begin with? What's your background?
Mine was just personal reasons. From a very young age, I had a run-in with a ghost when I was 11, and it just snowballed from there.
Right. And now, I mean, you're a paranormal investigator.
Yeah. I formed Greenville Paranormal Research in Rhode Island, and it's a constant thing for me. I'm always doing research, always talking to people, always looking for a site to investigate to see what's what.
Yeah, and it's funny how this just becomes a passion, and
very much so.
It takes off. We talked about some of the many shows. I think there's so many television shows. You name the network: Animal Planet, Sci-Fi, A&E, Travel, like every network. And then the major networks have things like Ghost Whisper, which is a fiction show, but still, paranormally related. More on the way. The
mainstream movies.
Yeah, mainstream movies. Yeah. My gosh.
Yeah. Paranormal Activity was a big hit.
Right. Did everyone see Paranormal Activity? No. I didn't either.
I did.
You saw it? Okay.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. Shows what 4 people in one camera can do.
It's the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, basically.
Done again.
Yeah.
We have to see. I didn't see it either. We'll get together. We'll discuss.
Oh my God. Slumber party.
Yeah, slumber
Should
party.
Be next. Okay.
File it under comedy.
Rob, you're my next door neighbor.
I am.
And you're getting into the paranormal by inertia and osmosis.
Exactly.
Right? And which is great. I'm actually really psyched that you're into this, because we're insiders and we're ruined. And you're not yet. But I mean, think of previous years. It gets to be October. What do you think when you see, the media doing ghost shows? I mean, or ghost stories?
I'm concentrating on trick-or-treating and candy at the time.
All right. So you see it, you kind of didn't even notice?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, in the paranormal, perception is really everything. And one of the things that I think is so important is the perception of the witness in a paranormal event, and what kind of role that plays in everything that we do. Sarah,
yes.
What do you think? I mean, what is, when it comes down to the perception of someone, is it everything? Is it the only thing?
I wouldn't say it's the only thing, but, and I'll try to answer this carefully, but I do believe perception is everything to that individual.
Right.
And that can go either way, because you got to rule out how credible is that person, but just because they perceive something, is it real? There are so many things that your brain can do, like just with the synapses and the neurotransmitters that can completely make you see things that to everyone else aren't there, but that person sees it. So at what point do you say, well, it's not real because I don't see it, but that person does? But to them, it's very much real. So when you come into, say, a paranormal event, I mean, who's to say that maybe they're able to see something that you can't?
Right.
Because maybe we don't have the capability of seeing it, and maybe they do, or it's hard to distinguish between the two, and I'm definitely speaking from more a psychological background,
right,
and how to rule that kind of stuff out.
Which is your background.
It is my background.
So tell us, how did you get started in psychology, and then how did you get into paranormal?
Paranormal from a very young age. Definitely just started as something I was passionate about, just interested in as far as researching and books I would read as a kid. I too had, like everyone I think in the field, a paranormal experience at a pretty young age that
right,
I felt couldn't be explained away. I felt that it was something very real and something I wanted to investigate further. As far as psychology, my background is clinical psychology. I'm both a clinician and I'm in research at Brown University.
Ivy League.
That's right.
Impressed?
Very nice.
Little impressed? Not even the only Ivy Leaguer here, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But we're a smart bunch, aren't we?
We try.
So no, and I mean, do you ever find one bleeding over into the other? I mean, when you're doing paranormal research, I mean.
Absolutely. I mean, like I kind of touched on before, I think that's an important thing to actually keep in mind when you're going into a home where someone is saying they have a lot of experiences. You do question everyone, and if it's only one soul, like one person that seems to be having this, you do have to kind of look into things like depression, which can mimic hallucinations, any kind of psychosis, any sort of anxiety. All of these things can actually produce things that will actually mimic paranormal activity.
Right.
Very much so.
Well, you talked about one witness. I always find it most interesting when multiple people witness the same phenomena, because then that's obviously not a hallucination. When you've got 2, 3, 4 people saying, "Yeah, I see it. The little girl, red dress, whatever," and I mean, we have to put our skeptic hats on. But at some point, I mean, isn't it fair to say, "Hey, I trust my senses. I'm of sound mind and body." I mean, the government trusts me enough to drive a car, right? Red lights, green lights. I mean, at what point do we have to say, well, their senses are probably as good as mine?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's really an important part of it. And perception, maybe they're seeing things we're not, which really leads into psychic powers. I mean, do we all have them? Can we see the future? Can we glean things off of other people? That's one of the big questions. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, I think a lot of people read too much into psychic ability. They hear psychic, they immediately think, well, you should know the lottery numbers for tomorrow. You should be able to tell the directions without me telling you. That's really, in my experience with psychics, that is not the case. Psychics are like radios. Some of them are better than others. Some can pick up things a lot stronger than others. And then sometimes their frequency can be a little bit out. I've seen some psychics that I've hung out with and got to know. Sometimes they can't get everything, but on some days they get information that's absolutely amazing. So I think a lot of people turn their nose up at psychics because they think it's like Hollywood. They have some kind of godlike powers, and that's not it. It's just that sense we all have, that intuition we all have. It's heightened in some people, and they can pick up things that the average person can't.
Right. Fair enough. And Rob, what do you think? Psychics?
I think we all have the ability to read what people are thinking or feeling.
Right.
Look of fear, look of love, good poker face.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with what psychics, like the ones you go pay $20 for to read your fortune.
$20,
Yeah.
not the ones we know.
It's a bargain.
Yeah.
Cold reading, right.
They read your face, they read your mannerisms, and they take it from there.
And that's not a psychic.
And it's very vague, a lot of the answers that you get.
Number 3, letter J, we don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
What about seeing the future? Do you think that's possible?
Maybe if you know the history of the person and what road they're headed down, you might be able to come up with some logical guesses of what might happen.
But wouldn't that be more a forecast based on history?
And again, that could be vague too. I mean, they could say, this male in your life is going to die within the next year.
Yeah.
How many males do you know?
Yeah,
100.
right. Yeah.
And I'm kind of skeptical on that about that stuff.
No, that's good.
I guess you could say.
Skepticism is absolutely healthy. But precognition, do we have it? I mean, can we see the future in any way?
Maybe. I mean, deja vu. It's happened to me plenty of times.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
kind
Every
of
one
seeing
of
the
us has
future.
all experienced deja vu.
Oh, yeah.
Is that psychic ability? Or is that the brain's processing of micro pieces of information and building from all of the sums what its eventual outcome is going to be? Right.
And then there's also the lab work done by Dean Radin, which is really interesting if anyone has studied this. I just actually started working on a project recently, and what Dr. Radin did in a laboratory was to hook up people where he can take sensory readings of their skin, blood flow, things like that, and would put a computer in front of them and show them images, and random images. And it's a double-blind test. Some of the images would be erotic, some would be violent, and many would just be calm, like a beach scene or whatever. And what he was noticing is that some people who seem to be more precognitive than others, they would actually react up to 2 and maybe even 3 seconds before a powerful image would come up. some people had no reaction. They just, they'd be surprised when something was powerful. They'd be calm when something was calm. But kind of interesting that people can test this in a lab and learn that, wow, there's something to it. I think in one way, we're all animals, right? I mean, animals can sense danger. They can sense pressure changes and react to it. And maybe we've lost a lot of that ability because we don't need it. But I still think it's there somewhere.
Yeah, it's latent.
Right.
Absolutely, and I think the people that have like true psychic powers, I mean, it's like a natural ability, like someone can paint, whereas someone else can't. It's almost like it's a talent, and we may have all had it at one point, but there are people that legitly have it just more developed. It's just their thing. Yeah,
the two psychics that I know that I feel were legit and are legit, they said that they really had to work at it. It was something they had to understand, and just like you were saying, a painter or a gymnast, it's something they had to get to understand and to be able to work with and control.
Yeah.
But I mean, not to get into it, but I just a few nights ago saw a very good experiment where one psychic went into an area, picked up on certain things. We took her out of there. We brought in another psychic. Didn't tell her anything about where she was going. And it was absolutely mind-blowing, the things she picked up, the same things the other psychic picked up, and it could be verified with documentation. Names, places, events.
That's always interesting. And that's funny because that's the kind of stuff that people like you are doing and people like us are interested in. Rob, what am I thinking right now?
Beer.
14 minutes of beer.
14 minutes. My God, he's good. He's amazing. All right. Let's regroup here for a second. I think we need to take a very odd break, if we could, with our good friend.
And now, an odd fact with Matthew Moniz.
"10,000 birds per year are killed by flying into windows. Isn't that odd?"
This has been an odd fact with Matthew Moniz.
10,000? Those poor little feathered friends. I have a pet parakeet at home. That one hit a little too close to home. You crossed the line. You son of a gun.
There is no line.
You're right. There kind of is no line. Speaking of animals, cryptozoology. Something we haven't really covered much so far on the show, but we will. We will get to it. We did. We did a show on Bigfoot. Ohio Grassman, that's right.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of shows now. We start to lose track. But a fascinating topic. But where's the burden of proof on animals like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Thunderbirds, these giant man-like birds?
You can make the same argument for the Gossamer albatross.
You can make the same argument for ghosts and anything else paranormal, but for the sake of this discussion, let's stick to cryptozoology. Is the burden of proof with the believer? Is this stuff really out there?
Oh, like I said, with the Gossamer albatross, it's a animal that's registered as a bird that they haven't really found, quote unquote, any eggs or anything other than one feather in a photograph, but yet is listed.
Right.
I mean, you're dealing, cryptids are by nature are just an undiscovered animal. Over 18,000 new species of things are discovered each year, roughly one a minute.
Yeah, right.
Per year. And they range from everything from microbial to something the size of the megamouth shark.
Right.
And everything in between. It's a fallacy that that we've scoured the entire earth, and found every animal possible. I mean, 2/3 of this planet is ocean, and we haven't even explored 1/10 of 1% of that.
Right.
And there's still vast tracts of land that man has never yet set foot on. So,
one of the things I think that upsets cryptozoologists is that, like you said, they're discovering new species all the time. The coelacanth, which is this fish that was said to be extinct for millions of years, was suddenly found in, I believe it was
Madagascar, off the Straits of Madagascar, so 1943.
Found and found again.
36.
Yeah,
sorry.
We know it's around. We know it's there.
The gorilla. And not only the gorilla, but just last year they found a new species of gorilla, like 10,000 of them in a colony right along the Congo, and nobody knew they were even there till just like a year ago.
Right, and that's the more scientific aspect of it. And I think when people think of cryptozoology, kind of unfairly, maybe they're jumping in too quick to Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and all those other stuff.
Yeah.
The chupacabra, the stuff that seems to be more paranormal, because I guess it's more interesting than You mean a species of bird that's a little bit like another bird, but not quite, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Matt, how did you get into this? How did you start in paranormal, and what's your background?
I got started in paranormal basically like everybody else did, an experience at about 4 or 5 years old, and you know that caught my interest going through adolescence, reading books about it in high school, then got lucky enough to hook up with some people that were seriously into it in my early college years, starting from basically Bristol Community College, UMass at Dartmouth, and a little cow college up in Cambridge called Harvard. And
yeah, Harvard. Yeah.
But
I told you there was lots of Ivy League here.
But you know, I spent a lot of time reviewing a lot of material, and then actually going out into the places and looking up the locations and the people themselves, getting firsthand information, testing things for myself. You know, it's one thing to read a book. It's another thing, as you know, to actually go up and talk to the person that this book is about.
Yeah, sure.
To visit the location, because it adds a sense of realistic view that you can look at and say,
right,
you know, this really does exist. Whether the event actually happened is still, but the places and the people are real.
Right, and it's another thing to get into those places too, which we talked about.
Correct.
But there's the other side. Sarah, cryptozoology?
You know, I will say that this is the one area that I'm probably the most skeptical about. I would love to believe. I think it's possible, and I'll just put that out there. However, I think when we're talking about something that's supposed to be living and breathing and existing on this plane that we as humans do too, then you need to be careful. And yeah, I'm going to want to see some proof of that. It's great that we're, like you said, discovering new species and like different varieties of species, but they're here. They existed. There's record of them. It's one thing to say that and then say there's like a Bigfoot or a chupacabra. Show me a body. Like show me like something, like bones, like feces even that just.
They already have all of those. They have various bones and various fecal matter. Actually, if you're looking for it, that has been shown to be of unknown primate. If you want to get into that.
Well, yes, but how can you say, oh, that's definitely the chupacabra's pile of poo right there? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do they know from that what it looks like and has magical powers and wings and things?
Well, I was going to say they can tell what the animal is from excreted matter because there are certain biological, basically they're small gut parasites. Each species has their own version of gut parasites that helps them digest their food. And they have their own specific genetic codes.
Mr. Scientist. But from that, you can tell like exactly what kind of body type it has, what kind of like.
You can tell what family it's from.
Sure, but again, like to give it a name, to give it like characteristics.
But if you already know from all of these other animals that you know this is related to this, but we don't have this specific species, you know that you know it's got to be at least looking something like this. Because this is what these microbes live in and these other creatures that it's related to.
Right.
I can't believe it took us 22 minutes before we could talk about poop on this show. That's amazing. I would have thought we would have got to it way quicker. That's good. Rob, where is the poop?
It's in the woods.
Right.
It's in the woods, rotting away with the bones.
Next to the Pope.
Yes.
Remember when this was what 2 summers ago now when the Bigfoot, the dead one, was found in Georgia in the freezer?
The rubber suit, yes.
The rubber suit, yes, we know that now. But do you remember that?
I do.
I do. Were you at all intrigued when you saw it?
Not really. I thought it was a fake instantly.
See, I had a good moment of 5 or 6 solid seconds of pure euphoria.
Yeah.
Where I just went, finally, we got him. And then I went, wait a minute. Yeah. If someone had a dead one, wouldn't you have like super high-res images available, shot from every angle?
Yep.
You wouldn't just have
in a freezer.
Yeah, in a freezer. You're like, well, I had to get the beer out so we could put this thing in. Yeah, no, I know. That was such a tragic moment for me. But well, we've got woods behind where we live and coyotes.
Coyotes.
Other strange animals. And then there's always animals that turn up.
Catfisher. I saw a catfisher out there once.
You mean a fisher cat?
Fisher cat.
Cat fisherman.
Yes.
There's a pot. It's different.
That's one weird looking critter.
It is.
Yeah. So you never know what might turn up, what we don't know about. One of the interesting things I saw, now I don't necessarily buy into this. I was at a UFO conference and someone made the connection that, well, we don't find dead Bigfoot because he's an alien. And he goes back up in the spacecraft.
Now that I'm more likely to believe. I would believe that. I totally would buy that. I saw that.
No, kidding. Totally kidding.
1973, Western Pennsylvania. 3 state troopers shot at a Bigfoot that was entering a UFO.
Nice.
Is it any more weird than anything
We've
else?
got a situation going on in Rhode Island right now. I won't get into it, and it's starting to make me think there's got to be interdimensional travel with these things. I mean, Rhode Island is supposedly the only state in the Union where Bigfoot hasn't been seen. No. I know of 2 encounters that these people had no knowledge of one another in the most odd place in Rhode Island, and it's starting to sound like Nick Redfern's man monkey.
What size is your shoe, Andrew?
Yeah, mine's 12. I've been shot at sometimes.
Yeah, right. Good point. Good point.
But that was Shell's husband.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. Of course. Rob, we actually haven't got to your background yet. How did you get in? How did you get to where you are today in your field? And where do you stand on the paranormal?
I'm a mechanical engineer, Northeastern University, Wentworth University, and I got into paranormal about 4 or 5 years ago. This guy next door moved in, and he was an author on the paranormal.
Yeah.
And I started to get interested then, and then he actually asked me to go on a ghost hunting expedition one night.
Possibly the most important one ever.
And that's what really got me hooked. It was when we went to investigate that pole dancing studio.
Yes.
That had the orbs
yes.
that were being caught quite often.
What size were those orbs?
They were double Ds, I believe.
We're professionals here, folks. Yeah, it was. I got an email from a colleague in California, and the subject was simply "You owe me," and it was someone who claimed they had a haunted pole dancing studio in Massachusetts, and could I investigate? And I didn't want to leave any damsels in distress. Put together a crack team. Rob was. Rob was there,
and we debunked it too.
Yeah, we did. Rob was great. We discovered that there were things flying around on camera, but the camera was often placed underneath a door jamb with music thumping that would knock a little bit of dust off that would go right in front of the lens and do some weird things. So.
How many hours did you guys spend there?
We're still working on the case. Actually. We haven't presented
that case file's not closed.
Yeah, that's going to be open forever, probably. So, all right, speaking of ghosts, what is a ghost?
What is a ghost?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a good question. Could be just a little piece of energy just left over from a dead body.
All right.
Floating around, kind of has its own little aura.
Wrong. Next, Sarah. What's a ghost?
I'm not even going to pretend to have the answers, but I do think that it is something that exists on a completely opposite plane from us, but still connected to us in some way. I think they can be human, I think they can be alien, I think they can be animal, and I do think it's part of the energy that once lived and breathed on this planet.
That's what I said.
Absolutely.
Wrong. Matt, what's a ghost?
Residual imprint of a former person. Their soul, if you want to call it that, is nothing but energy, and energy can be neither created nor destroyed, only changed. And I think it's just a changed state from one phase to another.
Wrong. Andrew.
No, I have to say almost ditto on Matt said. I believe it. We are beings of energy, that this thing eventually dies, and we do linger.
You're right. Somehow.
Nice.
Oh.
I don't know how he's right and you're wrong, but somehow he is. That was good. That was insightful.
But sometimes it can be just an imprint without any kind of
Like
intelligence, conscious,
there's so many theories floating around. There's probably as many theories as there are ghosts, as there are witnesses.
Yep.
And those are the people that we deal with, that write to us, that email us, and we meet at conferences. And I think it's cool because all of this stuff, we didn't really get into UFOs too much because we're running out of time here. But at the same time, all of this stuff begs much larger questions. Are we alone in the universe? Where do we survive death? Do we go on after we die? Do we know everything about physics, about the animal kingdom? It's really big stuff that we get to explore. I can't think of a better way to spend our time, and it's an honor to be here with you guys doing this week after week.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, this
we
is
have
so
a
much
blast.
fun.
This is great.
And it's so much fun. And Andy White, what is a ghost? Yeah, good one. He shrugs.
Us in about a few minutes heading out the door.
Yeah, he just shrugs back there. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Keep writing to us. This is the crew, huh? We're not
More field reports.
More field reports. We're not all a big bunch of dummies. We have a lot of fun doing this. These Ivy Leaguers, huh? Not me, but those
Make you
two.
look good.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They totally.
It helps.
It's good decoration. Until next time, please stay odd, and thank you all for watching. See you next time on 30 Odd Minutes.